Welcome, everybody. We're glad to have you here because this week in gaming, the Animus is real. BioWare gets a shakeup, and Xbox keeps expanding its borders because this is the Nerd Cave Newz, and I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined along with my good best friend, my bro from another mother, Derek Daniel. Derek, how's it going, my man?
It's going pretty good, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Got the wrap off.
Good.
You know, and
now you can United States of Smash people.
I can. You know, I felt like Deku, and like I needed what was her meta girl, whatever.
I can't remember her name. It's the old lady. Oh, smooch it and make it better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let me kiss the boo-boo. I'll make it better. I needed her to make my boo-boos better, but I had Amy, so much better.
Right.
But guys, we hope that you're doing well. We are the Nerd Cave Newz. We do this each and every week. I see a bunch of people jumping in saying hello. Welcome,
hello,
everybody. We are doing a vertical and a horizontal stream. We're trying to reach as many people as possible with this over on the YouTubes. Derek, it feels like it's been like 1 week since you looked at me. You know what I mean?
It's been exactly a week.
Yeah, but so much has happened. Like I've taken back a wall. I've crossed the sea. I've done so many things, Derek.
I know. That's Attack on Titan references. If anyone doesn't get that, dude, Zach's been deep in that thing.
I've been deep in it. I just feel like I've been just through it all, and I'm like I've seen it all. You know what I mean?
And you haven't even finished the finish line.
I haven't even finished it yet, but I'm really enjoying it, and we'll have to talk more about Attack on Titan at a different time. Derek, I have to ask, what have you been playing? And everybody that's jumping into the stream, let us know what games you've been playing. It's been, for me, I've only been playing Pokemon TCG Pocket. New update came out today. Already started getting some new Pokemon. I'm like, I don't know some of these. These are kind of after my time, but hey, I'm here. I'm ready to get some new decks and see if I can destroy some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and it's glad that you asked because, you know, I've been putting in, been grinding, doing the anime thing, but also been doing a lot of work. But, it dawned on me the other day when I was off on or Sunday when I was off, I'm like, you know what I haven't gotten into that I said I was going to start in January was Ghost of Tsushima, the Iki Island DLC.
Ooh,
so
boy.
I finally dabbled a little bit in that. And it starts off, very intriguing, like you start on Tsushima Island. And all of a sudden, new enemy type gets thrown at you, like, because you're like looking at
out of nowhere,
investigating, and it's like, boom, new enemy type, and you're like, okay, what does he do? I'm like, oh, that's not good. I need to take him out ASAP because I didn't experiment, but for spoilers for anyone who hasn't played Iki Island yet, what are you doing? The game's been out for 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's a shaman, and he buffs all the people that are in his party. But what I haven't dabbled in is like, is it harder to kill them, or does he keep them alive? Like you have to in order to kill them, you have to kill the shaman first. Like, does he keep them alive? Haven't dabbled in that because I've already played many RPGs and many other games before. I'm like, taking this fool out first before I take out the rest of them. And then like getting to Iki Island, and then just getting like, dude, there was that moment in the beginning where your ship goes under, and I'm like, no, not again. No, but then it's like, it's a mission. Like, you have to find it. I'm like, okay, all right, this is better. And gaining that new ability with the horse is really cool too. Like, obviously, it does eat up your stamina a little bit, or like your what are those golden circles? Is it your stamina?
It's like ability points. It's kind of like stamina, but it's like for you to be able to use like finishers, that type deal.
So, but like it uses that up a little bit. I'm like, well, that's a cool ability.
So for the people that are watching that don't know what ability you're talking about, what is the ability that you gave with the horse?
Charge. Horse charge. So, and then of course, there's another story mission where you go to your safe haven, essentially like your fort. I haven't gotten there yet because your boy's exploring, and then of course he found a bunch of the new stuff like the animal sanctuary. I found one of the statues. That gives you like secret armor from the little nod to PlayStation, and I looked So the one I found was for Horizon. So that was a cool thing. So that was the first one.
Do you know what the other one is on the island?
Oh, I looked it up. There's 4 of them, and I saw.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to find you.
Yeah, dude, it is so awesome getting like the Kratos armor because it's
Yeah.
not spoilers. It's
Yeah.
it's super old at this point, but dude, the Kratos armor in Ghost of Tsushima is chef's kiss. Like
Oh,
it's
good.
so good, man. It's so good.
So, but then, and then of course I haven't dabbled in that, but there's archery challenges in there too. I'm like, I don't know about this one. Like, I feel like they're gonna be okay.
They're fun. They actually
Mm-hmm.
are. They are challenging, but they are fun within the game. And
Yeah.
it feels like archery is a little bit bigger part of the Iki Island like story and everything. But dude, I can't wait for you to experience the story that is on the DLC because
Because I know it's going to be good because I know like when he got there, it's like where his dad got killed, and I'm like, bro, like they were going to liberate Iki Island, and that's because it showed a flashback to that moment where like it showed like from the main game, and I'm like, is this where his dad died? And like, sure enough, like this is where it happened. I'm like, that is so cool how they tie that in from a flashback in the main game. It is so dope. And like I said, like, and I did a side quest where it's like, oh, there's another person who's claiming the ghost mantle, and I found out it was like Kenji. I'm like, bro, I don't like as soon as I saw, like, I was watching like the guy who's doing his dirty work, he went and was like, oh, he's stealing sake. I'm like, is this guy working for Kenji? Like, I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like Jin. I'm like, oh my god, like he's an idiot, but you just can't help but love him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, so and he does redeem himself at the end. When you do that mission, but that one part of the mission where you're fighting and you're fighting and just shamans start coming, like it's like multiple groups, like, and they all have shamans. I'm like, bro, stop it. We get it. We get it. This is a new enemy type. Don't shove it. Don't overdo it right now. But
yeah, like they definitely make you know that, hey, this is a new enemy type. I feel like there's a few other enemy types.
There's another one. There's one like it's like kind of like a mid heavy that has like a switch between a spear and swords, and they're kind of bigger because like you have to use like almost like different stances. But I'm just like, oh, you're a hybrid. Okay. This is interesting because he had a spear. I'm like, all right, let me do that. Let me try to do that. And like they can dodge and like block your stance breaks. And then he pulls out a sword. I'm like, oh no, I'm not prepared for this.
Yeah, like I love that because if you get to Iki Island, you're usually like have already played the base game. You can go to it at any point in time in Ghost of Tsushima, but it's like, all right, here is a challenge. And what's cool is if you have beat the game or where you're at in the game, it will also tie like in that storyline as well, where you're in the game point and everything.
Yeah.
But dude, I cannot wait for you to experience the story. They do come up with some new and interesting weapons, some different like throwables and everything, which kind of make it very unique to that island. And the companions that you get along the way and the stories. There's also this hideout that you find later on that you're gonna have fun with. It's pretty dope. So I don't want to give anything away. You're gonna love it. That's why I've been like, hey man, you gotta get into this. You gotta enjoy this, man. But guys, welcome.
I'm just glad to be back in that world.
Same, man. And hopefully everybody will be getting the next Ghost. Yeah, Yote this year. Here's hoping, everybody. Here's hoping. And we're glad that you're here hanging out with us over on the YouTubes. We got a vertical stream. Welcome, Brandon. Welcome, everybody else on the channel. If you want to watch the horizontal version, you can watch that. Or if it's easier to just watch vertical, that's why we're doing both of them. So let's get into the gaming discussion this week. We finally know what Assassin's Creed's mysterious infinity is.
Right. So Ubisoft announced the Animus Hub, a new feature in Assassin's Creed games, starting with Shadows. So what it does is it acts as a main hub to launch Assassin's Creed games, will include new missions and free rewards for Shadows, and continues an ongoing story involving Abstergo and future Assassin's Creed titles. It'll be similar to Call of Duty Warzone's hub, and it launches on March 20th. So literally the same day as Shadows, or well, Shadows launches on March 20th. Excuse me, I read that wrong. But yeah, so and you know they brought back up Hexy, which I know is like their next big one after Shadows.
Yeah.
What does this do for you? Because I mean, this is pretty much what we thought it would be. Kind of the rewards and stuff, like the more unlocks and whatnot, is a nice little bonus. But this is pretty much what we thought it would be. Correct?
Yeah, like I think they're trying to go with the like Activision launcher, the Warzone thing. Like
Yeah.
Fortnite has like its own hub now where you can do all of this stuff. So it's trying to create a world that it can live in. And I'm glad that we're getting more Abstergo stuff because I feel like they've strayed a little bit away from that over the years.
Desmond's story, I mean, they tried to still kind of make it relevant in 4, but ever since then they've kind of just, like you said, gone away from it. They still involve it from Assassin's Creed, because I know in Odyssey they still like did like the current world stuff, but I mean, it doesn't if it doesn't connect like it did in the early games, it's not going to matter anymore.
Yeah, I remember the first Assassin's Creed game, like seeing Desmond and like you're getting like all of this backstory, getting to explore outside of the Animus, and then the second game where you've got out of Abstergo, you've like ran away, and you've got like this whole crew that you're working with and everything. Like that was such a cool part because you wanted to know what. I think it was Sean. He was such a jerk, but it's like you wanted to talk with everybody. You wanted to get more of their backstory, know who they are. Why are y'all doing this, endangering your lives? And like that part was so interesting. And when they finished Desmond's story, it was like, okay, where do we go from here with the real world?
Correct.
And then we've gotten like little short things like, oh, run around and take people out, like, and that was it. And then go back into the Animus. And it's like, shouldn't you be moving? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's a good play here. Like I know Ubisoft is in this very precarious situation.
Correct.
I'm wondering if it will come out with Shadows or if this is like a Hex launch or a Hexy launch.
Yeah.
But getting a little bit more information. And I do like that they're, what Infinity is and that it's like the Animus hub and all of that. I do think that's really cool because again, the Animus hub, you get to go in and find the assassins within your DNA and all of that. I think that is a really cool way to play this.
True.
And make it something where it's like, okay, next game, you jump into the Animus hub, you buy the game, and then like I think it's another way to get people into that funnel.
So I have a couple questions. We don't have to deep dive. We can just like give a quick thought on this. So first question is, do you think they will add the older games, or will it just be from Shadows on to this hub? Like, do you think they will over time be like, hey, we're going to start slowly going back, or do you think there'll be a cap? Like, do you think, because I know they remastered 3, there's a rumor of remastering 4 out there. I know they did the Ezio collection, so that takes care of 2 through Revelation. 1 is still up in the air. I don't remember if they remastered that. I do feel like that was an inclusion, I think, with Mirage, maybe, if you bought, I don't know. Anyway, depending on how old some of these are, do you think they stop at a certain point, or do you think they will, or do you think that they just won't include them at all? Do you think it'll just be from Shadows on?
I think it's a great idea for them to do 1 through the whole thing, and it be kind of like the Master Chief collection where they went from 1 all the way through Reach. I think that would be a great way to do this. I hadn't even thought of that. That's genius, Derek.
Yeah,
you're a genius, Derek.
I have my moments. You know what I mean? Like every dog has their day.
Yeah.
But my next question is they like their PC launchers and like to do a lot of this. Do you think this will be only on PC, or do you think they will put this on consoles?
Definitely on PC. If consoles, like I haven't played Warzone or Fortnite in years, so I don't know if they have the same thing as like the PC versions of those. So I'd have to look into that. But if they could get something like that on PlayStation and Xbox, and maybe even the Switch too, not going to leave that out because If it's able to play,
there are Assassin's Creed games on the Switch.
If it's able to play Final Fantasy 7, remake and rebirth,
supposedly.
supposedly, then this could be something where we could see, it being on there as well. So I think it would be cool if they could do it. I think Fortnite does have that kind of hub thing on theirs. Yeah. I don't know about Warzone, so
right.
Yeah, if they could, they should.
Now, my last question, and this is like going to be our least favorite subject to talk about. Do you think? Okay, so it's a branching series of questions in this one. Do you think that they will have to pay for this hub and still pay for Assassin's Creed's? And if so, if a sad caveat, do you think if we have the hub, like if it's a subscription to the hub, do you think it includes a discount on future Assassin's Creed titles? So let's say Hexy is like the first one it comes with, right? So do you think, I was like, all right, you can buy Hexy outright, but if you have a subscription to this hub, or like, you're part of the hub portal, you will get it for like maybe $10 off or whatever, like something, hopefully more, because Ubisoft needs to make as much good grace as possible. But
yeah,
do you think they will double dip on the price?
They definitely could. It could be like MMO pricing back in the day, where you have to buy the game and you have to pay a subscription fee at the same time. But if they're smart, they would go more towards the Game Pass route here, where it's like, yeah, it might be $20 a month for the Animus hub or whatever, but you get access to all of the Assassin's Creed games. You can buy them individually if you don't want to do the thing, but we all know that anytime that a subscription model happens, that's where people make money, because people forget that they have subscriptions.
Yeah. I mean, you see commercials all the time. It's like, oh, look how many subs I'm paying for that you didn't ever know.
Yeah, Rocket Money.
Right,
Not
exactly.
Not sponsored, y'all. So what was the next part of the question? You said it was branching.
No, that was it. I'm sorry. I was about to say I misworded it. It was a split question.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so looking forward to seeing what Ubisoft does. They do have a lot of goodwill that they need to put out there. Kind of like our second story tonight, EA is restructuring BioWare.
So EA is shifting BioWare's focus entirely to the next Mass Effect game, moving many developers to other EA projects and laying off some Dragon Age team members. With Dragon Age: The Veilguard finished, BioWare is downsizing. Some employees are staying within EA, while others are losing their jobs. This follows past layoffs and key departures, including the Veilguard's director. The new Mass Effect is still in early development and now led by veteran devs. The shift comes after Veilguard underperformed, missing EA's player expectations by 50%. EA will provide some more details in its earnings call on February 4th. So that is literally next week. So we will get more info by then. Hopefully it's going to be good info, but let's be honest, I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
You hate to see it, but the writing was on the wall last week when we talked about how Veilguard and EA FC or Football Club 25 didn't meet their sales expectations, but we all know EA has unrealistic sales expectations, just like Square Enix does with their anything not named Final Fantasy, honestly.
Yeah.
They did 1.5, which for a dormant franchise that hadn't seen a new entry in a decade, that 1.5 was a pretty good starter in the first couple of weeks. But them expecting 3 million, I think they overestimated the Dragon Age property. Now, if this was Mass Effect, now I hate to see Mass Effect is probably going to be at least twice that amount. Yeah. Probably about between 5 and 10 million players they're going to expect. But if this was a Mass Effect, a known quantity, I know Andromeda put a lot of sour taste, and the ending to Mass Effect 3 didn't sit right with a lot of people. But regardless, Mass Effect is a known quantity that people still want and still love.
Yep.
I could understand if, they're like, oh, we expected 3 million and they got 1.5. I could kind of side with them, meet them in the middle on that. But Dragon Age, no, ill will to that. It's not Mass Effect. Like, it's a good franchise, but when when you have a solid entry, a miss for the second one, and then a good entry with Inquisition, you kind of are smelling yourself a little too much, especially again, games, the last entry was 10 years ago.
Yep.
So it's like, what did you expect? Like, and especially with Veilguard, Yeah, it underperformed, but it also underdelivered as a game. Like we've talked about it. Like
1,000%.
you've played it, like you enjoyed a lot of what you played, but at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, like what BioWare is known for in their story and their character development underdelivered. And it's like, what did you,
Yep.
dude? Like I get everyone who making video games is hard. We've said it time and time again. We'll
Mm-hmm.
continue to say it till we're no longer breathing. But I know a lot of developers, like I know that studio up in Bend, Oregon, believed so wholeheartedly in their biker game, as
Yep.
bad as that was too. But if you don't believe in what you're making, then why are you making that game and on that
Yeah.
development team? But they have to have realized, man, like they played it too close to the vest in some aspects. And again, the 10-year gap, it's like, what, I don't understand what you expected. You're not Skyrim. Like you're
Yeah.
not remaking a game. Like if you had remade the trilogy of Dragon Age games, like, yeah, okay, I could meet you in the middle on that. But I don't get why they over expected so much. And then when the Pikachu face, when it's like, oh, we only got half of what we expected, it's like,
Yeah.
why are you shocked?
Well, and what gets me is like Veilguard is kind of a reboot to the franchise
That
when you
true.
really get down to it, and it's doing this weird thing where it's a continuation of the story, it's rebooting at the same time, and then it's not giving you what you expect from it, where you can't be rogue or renegade, and like
Mhm.
it's just kind of like, oh well, I can be stern. It's like I don't want our players to look like they're mean or whatever, and it's like, come on, like
Right.
it's a M-rated game. I'm pretty
Correct.
sure Veilguard was M-rated, and it's like, if that is on there and you're dealing with topics that are in this game that that
Are
are in
polarizing.
there, are polarizing, don't be afraid to let people play out that fantasy that they want to
Right.
be a jerk to people. It is
Right.
a role-playing game for a reason.
Correct.
And like, I hate it for the developers,
Yeah.
because like a lot of this is coming from the people up top that are deciding on any kind of
Mhm.
story and like all of that. But a lot of people are getting moved over to the Mass Effect project, which
Right.
I'm glad they're not just canning people, but there are a lot of people that are having to interview for positions within EA now,
Yep.
and some people that are just straight up losing their jobs, and some people they're seeing the writing on the wall. It's like, I'd rather leave BioWare
Mhm.
somewhere that people would love. They would have killed to work with BioWare back in the day.
Yep.
It's like,
A decade ago.
I'm willing to leave a guaranteed job
Mhm.
to go somewhere else, try to get a job from somewhere else.
Right.
And that's huge with the climate that is video games right now.
Yeah.
And it's just sad, because Veilguard could have been great. The way they were like, oh, the Dread Wolf, and it's going to be about
Mhm.
that. And then it was like, nope, we're doing the Veilguard now. And like, totally shifted. But there were some really cool things in the game,
Yeah.
but it just kind of fell flat, And I
Correct.
think the reason I enjoyed as much as I have is because I've been playing on my Steam Deck, and it was like
Yeah.
my new shiny toy. So,
So I think another question is like, do you think, okay, with BioWare having to restructure, and again, and I know at the top, and especially for a big corporation like EA, you're going to have some people that have overarching expectations that you just have to try and meet, but are going to fail time and time
yep.
again, especially with the way the industry is nowadays. Do you accredit this to more of BioWare's blunders up until this point? Like with people forget Anthem. Like Anthem was a
Mm,
thing by BioWare, and it, like the Iron Man fantasy, did not pan out. And then with Andromeda, like I know that was like Edmonton, it was another studio, but BioWare put their name on it. Like
yep.
they endorsed them, and it was a big flub. Do you think it's more of attributed to BioWare's shortcomings before leading up to Veilguard, or this is a thing, and this is not to poo-poo on their success? Do you think this is because of the high expectations Respawn has put? I know that with their single player games,
Mm,
I know they've done the 2 Star Wars Jedi games. I know Survivor didn't do as well as Fallen Order, but it still did really well as far as a
yep.
Star Wars game, and it still did well with us. But also going back to their, like, the thing that that really set Respawn up as a good storytelling game was the story of Titanfall 2, because
Yeah.
Titanfall 2, while it was like no one cared for the multiplayer, for the most part, people were enthralled by the story. So do you think it's more to do with Respawn's being able to tell more compelling stories with their games in single player, or BioWare's shortcomings with their previous games before Veilguard?
I think it it comes down to this. Like I don't think Respawn is the reason behind it. I do think that video games as a whole, when you're talking about RPGs and you're talking about like this big epic world, Respawn has done a great job. You've got Santa Monica, you've got Naughty Dog, you've got these very big lofty goals, and BioWare is making a game that is 10 years too late.
True.
That is a big thing. Then you also have the senior talent that has left over the years because of Anthem, because of Andromeda, and that has hurt the studio so much that,
and because of like what you said, sorry not to cut you off, but like the changing from Dreadwolf to Veilguard, and like people have left and come back because of so many changes, and like EA trying to insert themselves too much into what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and they just had layoffs like in 2023, I want to say.
I think you're right, yeah.
And it's just like, this is like time and time again, BioWare is falling short because of things that they're choosing and then things that are getting forced on them. And if EA wants to hit, say, 10 million with Mass Effect 4, whatever it's going to be called, they're going to have to say, all right, we want the best game possible. Where can we, like, if we are missing a piece of talent, we need to go get that talent. We need to have the best writers. We need to have people that are passionate about Mass Effect. Bring in Drew Karpyshyn that wrote the first 3 Mass Effect games, wrote the first 3 books based off of that. Like, he would crush it. And like, Mass Effect is in this very interesting place where it's Shepard's story is done. You have to do something different. And they tried that with Andromeda, but nothing was firing. It was kind of just like, we're back in space. Like, and I love Mass Effect. Andromeda did not get me, and I wanted it to, and it wasn't even the bugs that made me go, yeah, this isn't for me. It was the story. It was so bland. It was like eating a dry biscuit that's been sat outside.
A Popeye's biscuit with no bev.
Yeah, and it's just like they need to make a decision. Do we want to keep making games? Because I think Mass Effect is the last game that BioWare will make if it is not successful.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I didn't think about that, but that's a very valid point. And the only reason I brought up Respawn is because, like I said, with them elevating and that's not even like with their success. I know it hasn't been talked about in the last year or so, but I mean, Apex, like them bringing that to the shooter genre, like dominating that and still being like one of the mainstays in the battle royale genre. Was huge. So I only say that because back in the day, BioWare used to be the crown jewel of EA. They used to be the standard for EA. Now, but now that Respawn has kind of elevated themselves to that new standard, I just wondered if BioWare need to, like, if EA put pressure on BioWare to kind of meet that expectation. Like, hey, we know what you could do. We need you to quit living off past laurels and need to rise back up to here so we can have 2 studios that we can tout. And basically, like, we have single player and now we have our RPG single player games like that we can both tout and just like dominate, like be back to like great third party studio status. But also it's because like you said, because of how much restructuring and how much of people leaving, because you don't hear a big studio, if they're worth their salt, restructure that much, going through a massive restructure after putting out a big game. Because look FC football, like Football Club 25 underperformed, and how many years do we talk about how a lot of sports games underperform, but you don't hear about their studios restructuring, at least to a level like this. You know what I mean? They might fire some people, but or replace some people, but they don't say, all right, we're gonna have to downsize the studio because we're tired of Madden not being the football game to go to every year. Now they have college football, but I digress. But you don't hear that from the sports games because they know what they get, and plus they make it up with Ultimate Team stuff too, like a little bit with a little bit of that. But you don't hear about that, so I feel like BioWare is also being held to a different standard, for right or for wrong. And again, I only bring up Respawn because, like I said, they're now the new BioWare.
Yeah, 1,000%. And like sports games to like RPGs are a little bit different because like sports games pretty much the same, you know, things.
Correct.
You just change the names, you put a few different plays, and
Right.
maybe if you're crazy, you might add a new mechanic in there.
Don't say that now.
Don't be too crazy. That's how the sports ball people are. Now, it's interesting because I remember reporting on the Old Republic SWTOR being moved to another developer for BioWare to be able to focus on other things. So now BioWare as a whole is now focused solely on Mass Effect.
Yeah, so they can't right this ship.
Yeah, it's like it's a make or break. That's why I said what I said. If BioWare screws up Mass Effect, it is done.
Yeah.
Like they will get dissolved, they will get moved around, and people aren't playing anymore. People aren't taking chances because games cost so much time and so much money.
Correct. And I mean, oh, what was it? Did we talk about it last year? Or we might talk about it tonight. I forget. I don't know if it's a quickie or something, but I mean, there was one studio that had to invest so much money and they underperformed. You know, I forget what it was, but they finally report the earnings on that one. I feel like Kind of Funny talked about it earlier in the week, but I digress. But yeah, and it's crazy. And it's crazy going off of past accolades. If you would have said that about BioWare 10 years ago, you would have looked at like, no way, they're not going anywhere. Yeah. Now it's like, it's not out of the realm of possibility, which is sad because if BioWare to close, that's a big part of gaming history that's just gone then.
Yeah, and it's like people are doing it way better now.
Yeah.
That's just the sad truth. When God of War can make a better RPG than BioWare, and like some people are gonna be in the comments, God of War is not an RPG. It's like it does have RPG mechanics.
I mean, you got armor.
Yeah.
I was one of those in the original, but then when Ragnarok came around, I'm like, all right, it's definitely an RPG.
Yeah, and like you're making choices with your armor, your upgrades, the powers, and all of that. Yes, you don't get to choose dialogue, but it's pretty much an RPG.
Correct.
So, guys, make sure to subscribe to the Nerd Cave Newz right here on YouTube and podcast services of your choice around the globe. It helps us out so much when people see, hey, I'm subscribed. It tells the platforms I'm digging this. If you're over on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff, and leave a 5-star review because Mama said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So
Facts.
Put that 5-star review, say you love it, and share the show with somebody that loves talking about video games. And make sure you jump in the chat. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your opinions. Because me and Derek, we're cooking right now.
Yeah, we are.
We cooking because we got another news story. The possible near future of Xbox has been provided by the God King himself, Phil Spencer.
Yes, sir. So, following the Switch 2 reveal, Phil Spencer says Microsoft is really looking forward to supporting Nintendo with Xbox games. Phil Spencer has hinted at Microsoft's plans to bring Xbox games to Nintendo Switch 2, reinforcing reports that the company is heavily backing the next-gen console. Titles like Flight Simulator 2024 and Halo the Master Chief Collection are rumored to be coming, with Jez Corden of Windows Central suggesting most Xbox games could launch on Switch 2 if it can run them well. Speaking on the Gamertag Radio podcast, Spencer expressed excitement about supporting Switch 2, praising Nintendo's innovation and success. He also personally congratulated Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa, applauding the decision to make a larger console. Microsoft's support follows his existing partnership with Nintendo, which already hosts Minecraft, Pentiment, and Grounded on the Switch. This move aligns with Microsoft's broader multi-platform strategy, as seen with Doom: The Dark Ages launching on PlayStation 5 alongside Xbox and PC, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle also coming to PlayStation 5. Spencer reaffirmed Microsoft's commitment to prioritizing games over exclusivity, emphasizing that Xbox titles will continue expanding across multiple platforms, including PlayStation, Nintendo, and Steam. So, we already see, they went to PC first. They're including more Xbox games on PlayStation that we've seen. That was just announced today that we'll get to. I've added as a late quick hit that is coming to PlayStation as well. That I'm excited to see how that does. But like I said, Minecraft was the first one to hit Nintendo consoles. It's been on there forever.
Yep.
You know, again, Grounded and Pentiment were on there as well. I feel like Hi-Fi Rush was a missed opportunity that could have done well on the Switch as well, but that's now belongs to another studio entirely. So,
well, I think Xbox would still own the rights to the original one. I don't think they sold the rights to.
got you. So it's like a Sunset Overdrive. They still own the rights,
Yep.
even though Insomniac is part of PlayStation. Yeah,
Yep.
you're right. You're correct. But this is interesting because again, they bring Flight Simulator, perfect. Perfect opportunity for the Switch, especially like how graphic intensive that game is with all the map data. That would be perfect to show it off. And then getting Halo on the Switch, like quick, like a hot question for you, Zach.
Okay.
Do you think, as a slight, like I do think Master Chief Collection will come to PlayStation as well. Do you think, as sort of like a little jab to Sony, like, because you know, Phil Spencer, he doesn't, you know, he plays a nice, he does a nice like baby face routine, but
yeah,
I think deep down he likes to be a little petty. Do you think he puts Master Chief Collection on the Switch 2 first before PlayStation? Just as little jabs like block this merger.
I would find it hilarious. He kind of reminds me of Chris Jericho. Like, you
that's
know
on the
I mean?
list.
That's on the list. But yeah, like, you know, if Nintendo has wanted this partnership.
Yes.
And they were not weird about the whole merger and all of that. So it going on there. Plus, Derek, I'm gonna just say this. How cool would it have been? You're in high school, you have your Switch before school, after school, you can just pop on and start having multiplayer battles.
That's ridiculous, man. That'd be insane.
Like, that would be absolutely amazing. So I think the Switch 2 would be great for that. And I think a lot of people will fall in love with it because, you know, somebody might have got the Switch because they have kids and it's like, I used to play Halo. And now Halo is on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, that would be huge. And then introducing a whole new generation and everything to the Switch, to Halo would be amazing. So I can see it coming to Switch before PlayStation. So yeah, I think that would be hilarious.
So, and you know, again, it all comes down to how powerful the thing will be.
Yeah.
You know, will it be powerful enough to run it, or will they do the cloud thing? Now, if they even do the cloud thing and it is stable enough to run, it still will be a success, in my opinion. It'll still be a win. But how? Okay, because obviously, you know, we on PlayStation we've got again Hi-Fi Rush, we've got Sea of Thieves, obviously. Bearing the lead here, they just announced Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation 5 this spring. So, do you think they will do it if Microsoft and Halo or Flight Simulator and Master Chief Collection are also real, that they're going multiplat as well this year? Do you think whenever the Switch 2 decides to launch, if let's just say all those other games are out already on PlayStation ecosystem, do you think they will do waves again on the Switch 2? But it's like, all right, we're going to launch these couple games and these couple games and these couple games, or do you think all of it will drop on the Switch 2, maybe not at launch, but before the year ends?
I think do it at launch.
Man, wouldn't that be something?
The reason I say that, the launch window is such a very interesting time for a console. Correct. Because most of the time it is just your first party games and maybe a third party. But if you have Xbox dropping these bombs right on there, it's like, oh, I know that's a good game. I've wanted to play that game. Oh, it would be cool to play Flight Simulator while I'm, you know, on the train or on a flight or whatever. You know, how meta is that? And being like just right out the gate, like that would be huge sales. The reason why Zelda did so well when the Switch launched, it was because it was one of the only games that were coming out.
Yeah.
Not that people don't like Zelda, but you know what I mean? It's like there were more people buying copies of Breath of the Wild than there were actual Switches in people's hands.
That's also very true. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be the right move, especially for, again, they need, you know, with Xbox being like everything's an Xbox mantra, that's their marketing scheme going forward. That would be a perfect opportunity, especially on a new platform on Nintendo. Like that would be a great partnership. Go ahead. I think you're going the same route I am with the thought process, but I'll let you speak first.
X Cloud.
Oh, I didn't even. That wasn't where I was going, but that's that. Oh
dude,
my god,
how amazing would that be,
bro? That would fix a lot of Nintendo's
that
online
would
issues.
be like they
Because
partner
again,
up
in the Xbox versus in the X, was it the Google versus Fortnite, or was it whatever it was, that court case that got leaked, that that's Nintendo and Xbox were trying to do a Game Pass, trying to put Game Pass on the system and all that. I mean, they've been trying, like you said, they've been wanting this merger and they've been wanting a partnership with Xbox to happen in some capacity. That would be genius. Because also, now where I was going is, do you think, obviously I don't think it will be in the same year, but let's just say, okay, they drop Master Chief, they drop Flight Simulator, they drop Forza, and all these other games that are on PlayStation, on the Switch, because I'm already including Grounded, Pentiment, and Minecraft. I'm just going to assume those are going to be port overs, to the Switch too. Do you think in let's say all that drops in 2025, in 2026, do you think Nintendo is going to be the next one to break tradition and say, Xbox, you've done right by us, we're going to start putting our properties on Xbox? Or do you think that's a grand slam dream?
Yeah, I think that's a pipe dream, because they are so stringent on their properties, and Xbox wants to be everywhere. Nintendo doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's true.
I do think that is and Brandon's over here. Brandon Elliott's like, never going to happen. Negative.
What up, Brandon? Yeah, no, negative. Yeah, that's I agree with you. That's a pipe dream. But I'm
it's
again,
interesting.
If we're breaking down borders, because there's also another quick hit where another studio that's made Xbox games before thinks that another company is going to go multi-plat, but we'll get into that later. So eventually, so I don't know, but I do think that is a pipe dream. But again, we're living in what if mentality at this point. Because again, in a world where Master Chief can be on the fight, like, because I fully expect, whenever the next Smash Brothers just drops, I think they will include Xbox characters on there. Because I mean, like, even if it's like like one of the characters from Grounded, or but Master Chief and Smash, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome, because we've gotten like Snake in it,
right? And
then we got Sora, which I know all that, but I think it'd be dope. And I know both like Snake and Sora and all of that is kind of Japanese, so
correct.
Just want to hit a few comments. I haven't seen, like, my horizontal side, I wasn't seeing these pop up. Lotus says, super excited for Switch 2, playing Death Stranding on Xbox and Forza on PS5 Pro. It is happening, people.
I know. It's crazy, man.
I like every good game on all platforms excites me.
Correct.
And then
gamers only win in the
1,000%. Flight Sim on PS5 Pro would be amazing. Yeah. Like, that would be super, super dope. Brandon over on the vertical stream says, I think they may make us wait until the holidays, talking about Xbox games coming on to
I could see that as well, because like, let it time to gestate, like, because let's say I obviously we know PS5 Pro, Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation soonish, like whatever spring, whatever they consider spring. But we again, they have yet to confirm that Flight Simulator and Master Chief Collection are coming multi-plat. So let's just say they announce that, let's say at Summer Game Fest, and then they do the thing of like, and it's out tomorrow or out in a few months type thing. I feel like they want to let that gestate on the PlayStation ecosystem first, and then be like, all right, all of it's on Switch now. Yeah,
dude. I'm just saying, if they did the xCloud thing, like, because xCloud's actually pretty good. Like, if you got a pretty decent internet connection, like, and you don't have to have something crazy, but like, you can do a lot. But I want it to actually run on the machine as well. I don't want it just to be the cop out of, you can play, everything's an Xbox type deal. Right. I don't want that. But yeah, Brandon brings up a great point. Would be great sales for Xbox at the holidays. 1,000% agree.
Right, 1,000%. Like, I mean, they're already going to be like good holiday like discounts anyway. But I mean, putting that on for sales would be ecstatic.
Derek, I'm going to make a call right now.
Okay.
Holiday 2025 Nintendo Switch 2 bundle will come with Mario Kart 9.
I mean, that's all depending on when the game launches, obviously, but you're not out the rest. I don't know. I think because they don't really do bundles the first holiday of a new system, but holiday 2026, lock it in, people.
Dude, what if they bundled Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Ultimate?
Oh my gosh. No, they can't. If they did that they would just be trolling.
Oh man. Brandon says over on the vertical stream, and speaking from my store, Xbox was struggling this past holiday.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't know if it's one of the quick hits, but numbers have definitely been down for console sales, but Game Pass has been crushing.
Yeah, I think it isn't one of the quick hits now that I think about it, but I digress. But yeah, like 1,000%. Like, well, and that's also because Xbox didn't really have anything last year, like first party wise to look forward to. Like, I mean, outside of, I feel like there was one game last year that I can't now, of course I'm blanking on, but
like all you had was pretty much Indiana Jones at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, and that was like after like everyone had bought their Christmas gifts. Like so like it wouldn't have mattered. Like it was unless it was like a last minute thing. But yeah,
Starfield was I guess no,
well,
Starfield
Shattered Space DLC.
Oh, okay.
September, yeah. But I mean that's DLC. That's not a first part. You know, that's not a standalone. But this year we're going to have options. Like again, we like previews for Avowed are going positive already. Like I know Kind of Funny's big on it. They just did their preview talk about it the other day. South of Midnight is in a couple months. We're excited for that. Doom: The Dark Ages is a month after that. That game looks dope. And then whatever else they have planned, like because I mean, apparently, Outer Worlds 2 and Fable are slated for 2025. One, if not both of those, I don't think will happen this year. Like, so it's possible that both of them could miss. Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Senua Saga.
Oh, that was but that was May. I'm including like holiday. Sorry.
Yeah.
Brandon's over here saying, but no physical copies of Avowed at all. I'm like, I guess I don't remember that or miss that. Like, that's wild. That's wild. So
just want to shout out Lotus Spirit said Amy welcomed them and said, new here, we're glad that you're here, welcome, hope you are enjoying it, but they said thoroughly enjoying the conversation so far, glad I found this channel. Well, we're glad that you're here hanging out with us because we love talking about video games and conversing. I think reading comments is probably one of my favorite things, is like
agreed
getting
you know, I get tired of hearing you all sometimes. I'm just kidding.
Like, I love hanging out with Derek and talking about video games, but hearing other people's opinions, you know, especially if they echo mine, you know, like, I'm just like, yeah, let's go.
As long as I feed my ego, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
But that's, oh God, what?
Nothing.
No. What? Go ahead, say what your chest.
We were watching Mob Psycho, and we're in season 2 where they're fighting have you watched Mob Psycho?
No, not yet.
Anyway, the villain's like, you know, you have to, it's pretty much was like, if you have the gumption to say I'm going to take over the world, you've already pretty much done it. And I'm like, I like that. I'm gonna take that. Sakamoto Days is awesome, Brandon. Like me and Amy have been enjoying it so much.
I need to watch that. So I need to watch that because I know it's been killing. I didn't realize it was only on Netflix, but I know it's been making a killing over there. So
yeah. So is Delicious and Dungeon. Yeah, exactly. Let's get the echo chamber going. Let's move to our next one, Derek, unless you got a few more you want to add.
No, I was going to move to the next one.
Cool. Starfield, speaking of, could still come to other formats, suggests Spencer, Xbox's boss.
Xbox's Phil Spencer hinted that Starfield might come to other consoles, including PS5, saying there are no limits to where Xbox games can go. In an interview with Destin Legary, Spencer was asked if Starfield would stay exclusive to Xbox. He responded that there's no reason to block any game from reaching more players if it makes sense for business. He emphasized that Xbox's strategy is to make games widely available, with Game Pass playing a key role. Reports from The Verge and Xbox era in early 2024 suggested that Starfield and Indiana Jones would come to other platforms. Since then, it's been confirmed that Indiana Jones is heading to PS5, and Microsoft has announced plans to bring 4 Xbox exclusives to other consoles. Again, it's one of those things that just makes sense, right? Like, again, Phil Spencer is for the players. He is trying to he's trying to make goodwill. Like, I know he had that blemish last year or the year before that with, laying off all those people, closing studios and all that kind of stuff. So, but he, at the end of the day, he is for the gamers. And he realizes, like, look, man, like, if we're riding this Xbox Game Pass wave, like, we gotta be smart with it. Put it on, and like make money. Like, I know Game Pass isn't on PlayStation, but it's like that's more revenue we can make, like, to help make up the cost. Especially if we have I know they had sales go up this past month, but I know like what if they have a down month, like where nothing's launching? It's like that could make up the sales, like, for having those multi-plat games or those games go multi-plat. And again, it just makes sense, right? Because like Elder Scrolls is multi-plat, and Fallout's multi-plat. So why hold Bethesda's newest IP to only one console and just put it on multi-plat? Now, it would be intriguing if it also came to the Switch 2. But again, if supposedly the Switch 2 is powerful enough to run Metal Gear Delta and then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like, it could run Starfield. Like, it's not. I mean, Starfield isn't graphically demanding to an extent, but it is like higher end Spectrum. So,
well, and I think that's why Starfield has done worse than other Bethesda properties, because it has not been multi-plat. They were very stringent on that. It's only going to come out on Xbox and PC, yada yada yada. And it was like, okay, it does come out, and the people that have played it enjoyed it, or man, this is just the same stuff. I feel like Bethesda kind of and BioWare are kind of in the same place. They were really big and really successful the last 2 generations of the consoles, but now it's like there are other contenders in the space of RPGs, like Baldur's Gate, like just wipes the floor with both of those companies. Larian just wipes the floor with them, and then like, even if you brought in like Elden Ring, it's an RPG when you really get down to it. And it's like those two are way better than either Starfield or Dragon Age the Veilguard. So I digress. I do think that it is important to understand that Xbox wants to make money. And I want to get to Brandon's comment.
I was literally going to include that too. I saw that. So go ahead.
Brandon says over on the vertical, but if you bring all the games to other consoles, what is the point of owning an Xbox? Like, it just doesn't make sense, because you need to sell consoles.
Okay. This might be, I wouldn't say a hot take, but this is definitely a opposite school of thought. I get it. Yes, selling the hardware and having a reason to own the hardware is important. But for Xbox, because of this new strategy of where everything's an Xbox and pushing the Game Pass initiative. Because how many times have we said time and time again, these companies take a loss at launch on the hardware, but they make it up in software and attachment rate. So yes, you might not sell the hardware as much, but if you sell control, because you're going to need a controller. Like, I know you have a smart glass and like the mobile stuff, but I mean that not a lot of people are going to go for that. They're going to go with the controller with the attachment for your phone, if anything. So if you sell controllers, there's your hardware, quote unquote. And again, if you make up with your loss in hardware with software sales, that's going to only be a net positive for you. And again, yes, you do it. There is the school of thought where you do need to sell consoles. I know PlayStation and Nintendo are still riding that wave. They're not going to do, I know Xbox is, jumping the shark, so to speak, and like going off the beaten path, doing their own thing. But at the end of the day, if people are going to, if you believe it and you market your strategy in a certain way, people are going to buy into that more so than a console. And Phil Spencer said consoles are not going away. They're planning the next Xbox as we speak. He says Xbox is still the console is still an important part of their overall company strategy, but it is not the focal point anymore. Whereas PlayStation is dependent upon it, Nintendo is dependent upon it for sure. But again, at the end of the day, it is the point of selling games. And if you can get the games everywhere, like Xbox is still making it so if you buy yes, even if you make it multiplat, it's sort of like when the show came to Xbox and Switch, after years of being only on PlayStation. PlayStation's logo is still on the box, people, and it is still in that opening title screen. So yes, you're buying it on Xbox, but Xbox only gets a certain percentage of it. Most of it goes to Sony and that studio because they own the rights to it. And yes, Xbox Game Pass, yes, it is on PC, it is on other platforms, and Xbox will put if Starfield comes, they will yes, it will come to PlayStation. Xbox doesn't solely get the revenue, but they'll still get a majority of the revenue. And again, those continuing subscriptions will they had a good time or a good month last month with increased Xbox subscriptions, so that means more money for them. And I get the counterpoint to that is, well, games are so much more expensive to make and so much more time consuming. I get that, but again, if you're very business savvy and you do, unlike PlayStation, who did that with Jim Ryan, who tried to do this live service initiative that crashed before it even really took off, honestly, if you really market and you really nurture your strategy for how you want to be games, the money will speak for itself and the money will come.
Yeah, I 1000% agree, because when you think about it, and this is a play here, because Microsoft CEO is tired of losing money on the Xbox division.
Correct.
And he has called them out on that y'all need to start making money.
I mean, they've been they've lost the console war the last 3 generations. You can just assume that they can see this console generation as well. But going back to at least the PS3 360 era, they've lost all the console eras since then.
Yeah, and the beginning they were winning, but at
the end, it doesn't matter what you do in the beginning. It's how you cross the finish line.
How you finish. And when you can make more money by just making games, you set yourself up for more money in the end, because you're not having to spend time. And I know you just said where they're making the next one, but it might be the last Xbox. Who knows? And with their whole lingo, I think they're trying to get in the mind anything can be an Xbox.
Correct.
That's not just
they're trying to future proof themselves.
Exactly.
So they don't get caught with their pants down.
Yeah, they are definitely trying to. Well, your phone can be an Xbox, your TV can be an Xbox, this could be this,
your fridge.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if that can be an Xbox, we don't have to make an Xbox,
right?
Right. And then all of that money that they spend on R&D and all these parts and all of that division goes away. Then they can focus on games and getting games out. But I will say this first part of the year is going to be much better for Xbox, but they have sucked at getting games out. So they have to actually be good at getting games out and marketing them. Because you were talking, because you were talking about what was that game that came out, and I was like, oh, Indiana Jones. It was Senua's Saga that came out to a whimper,
right?
So it's very interesting where we're at, because you've got Nintendo doing their thing. They're going to keep doing their thing. PlayStation has kind of started riding the ship from Jim Ryan, and then Phil is taking Xbox in a very, very interesting way.
Right.
Brandon says they've had to pivot because they lost the console war, so now they're doing a different strategy. I think it's their last push to keep Xbox relevant, and I agree, but I think they're trying to outlive the hardware side.
Oh yeah, they're trying to transcend the spiritual plane, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're not trying to be tied down to physical limitations. They're just saying, hey, as long as we have an ecosystem that can go anywhere on any device, we're good. So, but I also like you said, I do agree. They and it kind of alluded to it a minute ago, is they've lost the last couple of console wars. So I think they are just at this point, it's instead of just trying to beat a dead horse and keep, flushing money down the toilet, to be come up second or third every year, the bridesmaid never the bride type thing. I think they're just you know what, we're going to concede on this part, but we want to focus on this one and make it excel and be our next go-to. Even if it does, because I know people were, the conversation years ago when Xbox really or Game Pass really started taking off and Ultimate was a thing. People was like, oh, this is going to be the next part. Like they're going to get rid of consoles. And it's like, no, not necessarily. It will be a slow death. Eventually, there will become a day where there no longer will be consoles. They'll just be ecosystems. But it's not going to be anytime soon. Xbox is just not only future-proofing themselves, but just trying something different to still be in that mind share, to still get a foot in the door of the gaming universe and get a piece of that pie from the revenue.
Yeah, and we might even see something different where they come out with a handheld. Because that market
that's also a thing too.
Yeah, that market is really, really hot right now. You know, we see a lot of people in there. Steam Deck is definitely crushing it, which of course the Switch I would include in that handheld side of things as well. Derek over here trying to drown himself. Yeah. But I also think that it's like you think about how many people have got one of these.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone does.
Everybody's got a phone
or tablet or
tablet. Like, my God, tablet kids, they're freaking everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you take that component out of the way, where it's like, hey, you don't have to buy a $700 thing. All you got to do is pay $20 a month, and you can play as many games as you want.
Correct.
I think that is the play there, and it's just very interesting because they have put the time and money, and I know we're going long on this section, but they put the time and money into Game Pass and xCloud, where it is so much better than anything that is out there, because I have tried every service.
Yep. Even Luna. Not Luna. What was that?
Stadia.
Yeah, Stadia. Thank you.
And my God, they have all sucked. And this is the xCloud, even like a few years ago, was really good, and now it's even better. Like I played a good chunk of Starfield just off of my Mac doing xCloud. So like that's a huge thing for them. So I am very interested to see where this goes, because the future is bright. Like people, I love seeing the industry not just doing the same thing. Like we're not just like, you know, because it was kind of like that years ago where Xbox, Microsoft, Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, they were all kind of like, oh, we just got to make the graphics look better. We got to just make the graphics look better. And now they're all just kind of doing their own thing, and it's inspiring the others, which means we're just going to keep getting better and better stuff.
Correct. So, and again, like I said, in the end, gamers all win.
They do. And, you know, you could be winning too, because it's time for the Patreon Quick Hits. The Patreon Quick Hits, of course, are brought to you by our wonderful patrons. You can go over and support us at patreon.com/NerdCave. Go and get your very own Nerd Cave membership. It helps us keep the lights and the mics on. Support this 1.5 person business here, and it helps us make shows like this, Eat, Sleep, Anime, and do so many awesome things. Because I'm gonna just tell y'all, we've been cooking on the anime side of things. Y'all don't want to miss out on that. Y'all don't want to miss out on that. So they'll go support, become a part of the ship, part of the crew, by going over to patreon.com/nerdcave. And Derek, it's time for the Patreon Quick Hits.
So starting off, British gaming icon Team 17 announces it will change its name in February to Everplay Group PLC. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 story is now complete. As Yoshinori Kitase is very satisfied as production continues on schedule and promises Part 3 won't be exclusive to the PlayStation 6. WB Games exec David Haddad announces he is leaving the company after 12 years. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the best-selling game in the US for 2024. Ubisoft I forgot to take that out of the quick hits. Sorry, guys. Assassin's Creed Shadows director says recent delay was to polish parkour, especially on super complex roofs. Whatever that means, I guess. Following that, some sad news. Ubisoft lays off another 185 devs and shuts down Leamington Studio, which I'm sure was just a support studio anyway. But still, sad to see that support and prayers and thoughts go out to all the devs that lost their jobs. Hopefully they get back on their feet soon. Doom the Dark Ages director Hugo Martin confirms the upcoming prequel isn't the end and says, quote, I like making Doom games. Following that, Doom the Dark Ages won't have a multiplayer mode, and id Software wanted to go all in on the campaign. PS5 hardware sales in the US are tracking ahead of the PlayStation 4 by 7%. Analysts say that GTA 6 at $100 would be a bridge too far, even for Grand Theft Auto. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black gets a physical release on the PlayStation 5 only. Former dev says Dishonored 2 saved Arcane despite costing more to make than Skyrim and was struggling for sales. Dragon Age the Veilguard's latest patch notes make it sound like BioWare is basically done with the game. Nintendo adds Fatal Fury 2 and other SNES games to Switch Online library. Tim Sweeney says Epic can afford to keep spending billions fighting Apple and Google for the future of Fortnite on mobile for decades to come. I mean, what's that like, man? Like, just float some of that my way. Yeah. Insomniac founder Ted Price to be inducted into the DICE Hall of Fame. Following that, Insomniac Games teases really ambitious roadmap as it keeps quiet on Marvel's Wolverine info. Just give it to us, man. Like, quit. Stop it. Give it. Capcom experimenting with generative AI to create hundreds of thousands of unique ideas needed to build in-game environments. The Video Game History Foundation's digital library will be publicly available starting today. A rumor, Assassin's Creed Mirage is reportedly getting DLC. Skies of Arcadia trademark has been re-registered by Sega. Gran Turismo 7 is the highest grossing series entry in the US. Stardew Valley creator says, I don't want you definitely say that the book is ever closed, meaning like there's still possible that they could do more with the game or just do like a Stardew Valley 2, what have you. Rise of the Ronin is coming to PC on March 11th and features 8K and 120 FPS support. Shuhei Yoshida says The Last Guardian would have likely been canceled if it had been developed by or published by any other person. Techland celebrates 10-year anniversary of Dying Light and reveals the next era of Dying Light kicks off this summer. Dauntless Dev, which we haven't heard in a very long time, which is Phoenix Labs, lays off majority of its staff. Arrowhead Studios head Johan Pielstadt is taking a sabbatical from Helldivers 2. Following that, Helldivers 2 will stay online as long as people play, says the studio head. Rumors, Zach, this one is up our alley. New God of War game is based on Egyptian mythology. Let's go. Resident Evil 9 will reportedly star Leon S. Kennedy, while Jill rumors are debunked. Joseph Ferris confirms Split Fiction has already gone gold ahead of its March 6th release date. Let's go. Phantom Blade Zero will take 20 to 30 hours to complete for its main story and includes 4 difficulty levels. People Can Fly has been announced as co-developers on Gears of War E-Day. Hogwarts Legacy PC mod support launches today with free update. Moon Studios says Sony will eventually follow Microsoft and abandon console exclusivity. I don't think so, but we'll talk about that. The first Berserker Kazan details reveal 80 hours for the true ending. 3 weapon types for final release has also been talked about. Tom Clancy's The Division 2's the next DLC has been delayed again and no longer set to arrive in year 6. Didn't know they still had DLC planned, but now it's going to be even longer. Fast Travel Games lays off 30 members of its staff and consolidates studio down to 1 core dev team. GDC's award nominees have been revealed, with Astrobot and Black Myth Wukong leading the nominations. Sony appoints Hideaki Nishino as its CEO and president. Silent Hill 2 remake sales have reached 2 million worldwide. Stephen Ogg, who voices Trevor in the GTA 5 game, wants Trevor to cameo for GTA 6 so he can be killed off at the start. No Man's Sky Worlds Part 2 update revealed and adds new biomes, terrains, and lighting system. GOG resurrects Dino Crisis 1 and 2 on the PC. Our new month means new PS Plus free games for February that include Payday 3 on the PS5, High on Life for the PS5 and PS4, and Pac-Man World Repack on the PS5 and PS4. However, there's been a caveat. Starting in 2026, Sony will be cutting PS4 games from the PlayStation Plus membership. PlayStation makes linking a PSN account to your games on PC optional for select games going forward. Sony Bend Studio has reportedly cut an unknown number of contractors following the cancellation of its live service game. Beyond Two Souls TV series adaptation is in the works, with Elliot Page leading the project. GTA 6 unlikely to run at 60 FPS on consoles, says ex-Rockstar animator. Rumor, GTA Online will be a standalone release sold independently from GTA 6 at launch, so a la a Warzone. Capcom Spotlight stream confirmed for February 4th will include Onimusha and Monster Hunter Wilds. Game Pass records growth after Indiana Jones and Call of Duty but hardware sales have dropped. Dungeons and Dragons VR game reemerges with official name and announcement trailer. And lastly, like I mentioned earlier, Forza Horizon 5 is heading to the PlayStation 5 this spring.
Derek, my question before we jump into any others, do you think GTA Online, it said sold separately, do you think it will be free to play?
I mean, yes. I mean, again, like we talked about last week when we talked about like the price, like them increasing the price of the base game. Like Michael said it perfectly. They could literally launch it for free and people would still spend millions and billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think because they made so much flipping money off of GTA Online from GTA 5 with the shark cards and whatnot, I think it would be it. Now, they still could charge a fee. I think they do go the freemium route where they make it free for entry, but then anything else you still got to pay for.
Yeah, I think they go the free route because you're going to get more people on that. You know, and then this is just, you don't have, you know, mom, dad, grandma. You don't have to like trick them into getting you GTA. You know, you can just download it on your console.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying, so, like, no telling how many times it's like, oh yeah, you know.
I say, yeah, it's like, oh, sorry, Drats, I can't buy this M-rated game that has strippers and all this other stuff that my mom and dad won't let me, but I can download it. Like,
yeah,
and I mean, I'm sure they curve some of that, but I mean, like, it's mainly going to still be the language.
Yeah, well, and it's like you could put, you know, things on your console to
for
kind
sure.
of get around that and everything, but you know, I just thought it was interesting. Brandon says, don't think we'll get Wolverine until next year.
I agree, just because of Sony's strategy going forward. Like, they're having to recoup from the live service debacle, so it's going to take time. Now, again, Wolverine has been in the has been announced since 2021, so and they probably were making it before then. So I feel like it's still a random shot to get it, but because of Sony's new strategy of like at least releasing one major first party title every year going forward, starting with, we assume, Ghost of Yotei this year, would be smart. Now, again, they could always flip flop. They could delay Yotei and put out Wolverine this year, but I think the strategy is Yotei this year because it got a date. Because Wolverine, we haven't heard from it since 2020, since its announcement, and it never even got a year. So I think it's more inclined to be like a spring, summer 2026 game, and that be their big first party title for next year, and let Yotei be the shining star this year.
I think like if you space it out well enough, it's fine, but you know, don't be like EA where you know, you put out Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 within like a week of each other.
Yeah, oh my god, that was so dumb. And then Call of Duty right behind it.
Yeah, it's just like you're just laying these out for slaughter, right. On all of that. Any of these you want to hit before we wrap this up?
So I want to talk about, like, because Brandon said it's like Sony will never get rid of exclusives, and that's again, them coming to PC was, I think, their biggest, you know, hit, because again, the ecosystem that the PC brings with mod support and like the ability to push the graphics even more on there, especially with the new DLSS feature. So I think that's going to be where they stop. Like, again, like third party, like with Helldivers 2, I think that I could see that going multi-platform, like stuff like that, like partnerships I could see, but internally PlayStation Studios, I don't think it sees past PC. And again, Moon Studios, who's only done games, like I know Ori went multi-plat after a while, but like they did the Ori franchise, which started on Xbox. And it's like, bro, you've only been in Xbox and the Switch ecosystem. Like, how do you know what PlayStation is going to do? Like, I get maybe it's like maybe it's one of those inevitable things, you know. At the end of the day, I think Sony will be I could see Nintendo putting out their games multi-plat before Sony does, honestly.
Yeah, like especially like Sony has not had it, like, other than the beginning of PlayStation 3, has not really had a bad console generation.
Correct.
You know, and you were saying, oh, the last 3 generations, Xbox has lost. They lost the first one as well, because that was their first console generation was PS2, and the PS2 crushed.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But I definitely like think it's in this interesting vein of PlayStation doesn't have to play the same game. They're on
Yeah, no,
top.
they don't.
It's
Right.
like,
It's like, why am I coming down to your level when I'm the
yeah,
king?
it's like Coca-Cola. They don't do taste tests with Pepsi.
Right.
Pepsi has to do taste tests with Coca-Cola. It's like,
Right.
see, it's almost the same. And
Yeah.
anytime like someone's like, oh, we've got a new phone, it does everything the Apple iPhone does. And it's like, yeah, you're comparing it to the industry standard. And that's pretty
Correct.
much what
Correct.
PlayStation is at this
Right.
point, is the industry standard.
Correct. So, and I want to make a correction. I thought I mentioned Mirage is getting DLC. We knew that Shadows' DLC was canceled, but I meant
Yeah,
Mirage. I'm sorry if I said Shadows.
no, you said Mirage. We talked about it last week that the DLC for Shadows has been canceled.
Gotcha.
I think Brandon was just letting us know on that.
That's probably why Mirage. Yeah, I got you. Okay, good deal.
Yeah, it's weird that Mirage is getting DLC, but the new game isn't.
Oh well.
Those tricky parkour mechanics that the whole game is made around.
I know we got to delay it another month. But also it might be a thing where it's like, hey, Mirage did better. That is already a better commodity, and it's almost like they're admitting defeat. It's like, hey, we're going to give DLC for a year-old game, but we're not believing in our new game that's coming out that everyone's wanted the time period anyway, and we're already going to cancel the DLC. But I digress.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to hit real quick before we call it a night. Forza Horizon 5 coming there. I know Forza is a huge get. It's not only a huge get, but it's a proven franchise for Xbox. Now, yes, Horizon, the Horizon series over the years has proven to be more of a better received game because it's a driving game versus Motorsport, which is a racing game, because you're just going from race to race. Whereas Horizon, you can go explore, find new things, get collectibles, that kind of thing. It's a open world driving game that people wanted. So that being the first game that we get like that of the entry on PlayStation is huge. My thing is like, will it be let's just say hypothetical, it does crush on PlayStation. Do you think this is the inevitable death of Gran Turismo? I know we just said it was like one of the best-selling entries and it saved it. But had it not, let's just play what ifs. Had it not, will this have been the death of and Horizon comes out and kills it? Do you think it would have been the death of Gran Turismo and Polyphony Digital?
If Polyphony is not making money for Sony, yes. Like at the end of the day, it's a company. Like they don't care about art. You know what I mean? Like that's just the vehicle to get to the money. We're talking about car games here. I don't think it will kill Turismo just because it has such a base of fans, especially in such a history. But you think about it, it's like they're kind of two different games. Now, if Forza Motorsports was coming as well, then yes, I think that would be, because Gran Turismo and Motorsport is closer to the same type of game than Horizon is.
Correct.
So I think it will last, but it's definitely going to have to keep sales up. But they spread theirs out pretty wide on they come out. So as long as they, don't put it in the same year, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's true. So, or the same week, like Titanfall and Battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely don't do that.
But yeah, that's when I saw that, was like, because I scrolled through when I was going through Instagram, I was like, no way. And I went to IGN and I was like, holy cow. And it's again coming soon. It's in the spring. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, stupid huge, says Brandon. I 100% agree. Like that is a huge move, because that's always the game that they show off Motorsport is always the game that they show off, like the new tech on their new hardware and all of that kind of stuff is always Forza and everything. So, can't wait to see it and, see where we go from there. But I do have one question, Derek.
Okay.
I do have one question. I know I talked about Game Pass possibly coming to Switch 2. I think the only way for that to work is if Microsoft does a kind of kind of like when an app is on the Apple Store,
Mhm.
Apple gets a percentage of the sale. So
Correct.
I think they're going to have to figure out something where it just doesn't circumnavigate Nintendo making money. I
Yeah.
think that might be the only way that you could see, Game Pass on Nintendo Switch or potentially PlayStation,
Mm.
so
Again, I think you're right. That is 100%. I do agree with that sentiment. But again, thinking about it, just like PlayStation will be the last one, and that'll be like a far distant future if they ever decide to go multiplat
mm,
outside of PC. I think they won't allow Game Pass just because it's their competitor, and it would be admitting defeat that their PlayStation subscription has failed. You know what I mean? So I know
yeah,
Switch is different. Switch because they only do like the retro library side, and
yeah,
they also admit their online the servers are trash, so they need
yeah,
whatever help they can get. They need a crux. PlayStation, it's like we have good servers, but we want to believe and we want to be competitive on the same level as Game Pass, even though they're kind of not. Like they have good moments, but it's not really the same thing.
yeah,
So I think that would be admitting defeat. So, and I think PlayStation, especially with again being on top, they are too proud to admit defeat on something like that. So they're not going to do it.
yeah. I agree with Brandon here. Sony doesn't admit
Right.
doesn't admit
I do
defeat.
not yield.
Yeah. Just an interesting conundrum for everyone to ponder as we go into the sunset for another week. We'll be back on Tuesday. We're definitely going to be playing some new Pokemon TCG Pocket because we got some new cards, y'all. We might even trade a little bit. We might be trading
Oh,
some cards on
I don't know. I've
Tuesday.
heard people hate the trading features. So
Yeah, but I know some people need some cards, so we're going to try to
true.
help them out a little bit. But guys, we hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit the like button on the stream and hit subscribe if you haven't already done yet. We've got a ton of content here. If you love anime, we got stuff for you. If you love video games, we've got a ton of stuff here because we love nerdy stuff. That's why we're called the Nerd Cave. This has been Zach.
And Derek.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye-bye.